What's going on, guys? T-Mart here, and today we are going to be talking about weapon balancing and diversity in Black Ops 3. So this is something that comes up every single year with Call of Duty. There's always that one weapon or a couple of weapons that are better than the others. And granted, some years it's a little bit, bigger than others. Advanced Warfare, ASM1, and BAL27. But everybody wants multiple weapons in these different classes, but they want them all to be different, yet at the same time all be balanced. And that's an extremely fine line to walk as a developer, and it's not very easy to do. In fact, it's impossible. Like, if you want completely different guns with different attributes but have them be exactly the same, that's not possible. It's straight up not. So the developers try to do their best to make them as even as they can. And Vaughn actually went a little bit more in depth with this a couple of weeks ago. Like, he responded on Twitter and then did like a long Reddit post that I found kind of interesting, and I figured you guys would too. It's kind of like an inside the mind of the developer, and it kind of explains why what happens. So I wanted to share it with you guys. So first started here with Cheesy Blades on Twitter. He said, "Will guns be balanced on launch like other CODs? Please respond." And Vaughn replies, "It's not like we purposely don't balance the guns for launch, and the beta will help us get a stronger start than usual." So that's absolutely true. Part of the beta was great for, finding glitches and things that were super overpowered and stuff like that to make the game better at launch. That's why the beta happened, and that's extremely good. So we're already going to be ahead this year than some of the other Call of Duties were. Like, remember how good the BAL was when Advanced Warfare first came out? That thing was insane. They patched it like right away, and then they had to patch it again later. But anyways, so that's obviously a good thing. We got a head start with the beta. Now, let's talk about weapon diversity. So somebody posted on Reddit, and they had like a really long post, and they said, basically that the last game that they remember having really great weapon diversity was Modern Warfare 2. Time to kill on every gun with stopping power was very reasonable. I feel like COD has been falling off in terms of unique weapons. I don't mean gimmicky guns, I mean different types of fire / use for every gun. SMG should win a close quarters fight against an AR unless it's a headshot, things like that. So he's just basically saying that, over the past couple of years, it seems like the gun diversity in Call of Duty games and the guns you can use and be successful with is kind of going down. It's kind of dwindling. And Vaughn replied to this, and it's a pretty lengthy post. This is what I'm going to share with you guys. So he says, "It's extremely hard and getting harder every game. Here's the honest truth that depends on how you define diversity. From a game design point of view, here's some major things working against us to create diversity. Guns kill with 3 to 5 shots, depending on range and on average. That's just not a lot of headroom. With the FOV being what it is and being in first person, guys start to become little pixels when they get too far away. Thus, the engagement ranges are clamped down because it's just not that fun to pixel hunt on a console shooter. We are a bullet shooter. While we have different types of damages, like fall damage for example, all non-gimmicky guns use bullet damage. For example, we don't have shields. When we play, we don't get to take down the shield player using a whatever, yada 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 yada, because they're a certain sort of elemental user, and thus he just went on there. He says, nope, we have 100 health and bullets that do 25 to 35 points of damage. So it's super simple. It's not anything like Halo or Destiny or stuff like that. It's a very simple thing there. You have 100 points of health. The bullets do a certain number of damage. Once that certain number of damage kind of eclipses the health, you're dead. That's just what happens. There's nothing else in the mix there. Now he says, there's an expectation of lots of guns. It's a reasonable thing to ask for. However, once you use up the fire types, single shot, burst, full auto, and variants of all 3, you can probably get 3 or 4 guns in a class where you can meaningfully create diversity. You have to do it with art, animation, and sound design, not game tuning. It's just really hard to make a full automatic assault rifle feel meaningfully different from a different full automatic assault rifle more than once or twice. So, there you guys have it. Like, there's kind of like the 3 fire types in the game: the single shot, the burst, and then the full auto. That's like the biggest changes they can make in weapons. And there's really not a lot of other, headroom for them to make on top of that. Like, they can't really change it much more than just changing the fire types. There's not really much you can do in terms of the actual, performance of the weapon. They've got to change the way they look, the way they feel, things like that to kind of trick you into thinking it's something different. He says, weapons need to be balanced unless it's a gimmick gun, and a gimmick gun can only be underperforming. that caps the min/maxes and ranges available to us. So imagine if there's some sort of gimmick gun like a grenade launcher or a crossbow or something like that that's extremely powerful, then everybody's gonna use that thing. So they always have to make those gimmick guns, like the super unique guns, less powerful than the normal weapons. Otherwise everybody's just going to be using that one sort of weapon. Like, at least in the normal weapons there's a little bit of diversity and a little bit of variations, but they have to make those like super unique ones less powerful than the rest, otherwise those become overpowered. So it's just like it's this constant, you know, kind of like scale that they're trying to balance, and it's not easy. He says, we have thousands of tunables available to us. Most are not perceivable by a player, even if they meaningfully change the average KD or score per minute. The grip in Black Ops 2 comes to mind as an example of where players were convinced it didn't do anything. In fact, it did a lot to change your output. To create diversity, the changes should be perceivable and obvious to a player. More guns is not better, more is more, and the more you have, the less gameplay diversity you will be able to create. So, yeah, I don't know, I found that kind of interesting. It's a look into the devs' perspective of creating diversity and balancing the weapons in a game. It's like everybody just expects these guys to be able to put out tons and tons and tons of assault rifles and SMGs and LMGs, and all these weapons be different in their own right, feel different, look different, be different than previous guns we've had in previous years, and yet all be balanced all the time. And that's not possible. So I don't know, this is, you know, just kind of a random little commentary here. I wanted to show this to you guys. I thought it was pretty cool, and it kind of gives you a little bit more realistic interpretation of what you can actually expect out of a Call of Duty game, and it really kind of makes you appreciate what they've been able to do thus far. Like, I think they do a pretty good job of mixing it up, even though there's not really a lot for them to change to make it feel extremely, you know, head and shoulders different. So yeah, there you guys have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys later. Check out these two videos if you haven't seen yet. Peace out, guys.